Hello, Internet. Welcome to the Drifter's Atlas Ascension world building stream. My name is Zach, and I am host A this evening, and then host A Part 2 is my good buddy Thomas.
Hello, how's everyone's week going? Hopefully, everyone's doing great today.
And then our illustrious guest for this evening is the man, the myth, the legend, David Barrentine.
You may have heard of me from such bathroom stalls as the one at the Quickie Mart.
Exactly. David is our good buddy from chat. So he's helped us out, given us a lot of good ideas for this stream already. But he also was a cohort and creator of a recent successful Kickstarter. So he is very familiar with building worlds and telling stories and conceiving of adventures. So we're very excited to have him on for an evening.
And world building is my jam. This is what I like doing. When I'm with people that like doing it, it's just time flies by. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. We found out, Thomas and I realized that, well, when I punch in the stream to go live every week, I have to punch in what part this is. So this is part 7 of our stream, and we are dumbfounded that we are already 7 episodes into world building. So
It's that time
Yeah,
thing,
it's going
man.
well.
It goes by. It goes by quick.
I'm telling you. Yep. Let's see. Let's do a little bit of announcements before we get into this sucker, because we've got a couple things going on. Let's start with channel news. Dungeon Part 1 premiered last night at 9 o'clock Central, and it will be every other Monday starting at 9 Central. We did a session 0, and we dipped our toe into the dungeon itself last week, or last night, and we will get into a proper session 1 in a couple weeks. It's been a really fun. We have a really good crew. We have some really interesting player characters. We have some custom classes. We have some wild mount critical role stuff going on. Just a slew of ridiculousness that we've signed up for. So I think you're going to have a lot of fun there. Other than that, we'll go ahead and say that we do plan on doing another Ascension world building stream this weekend, probably Saturday night. So just keep your eyes and ears open for a late Saturday evening stream, and we'll get that in the works. Yeah.
And then on Sunday the 3rd, so Sunday the 3rd, I will be playing a game for Jasper's Game Day. I'll be playing a game for Jasper's Game Day and their digital, basically, convention. They're having 60 hours of D&D from Sunday at noon till Thursday at midnight. So they're doing 12 hours, basically, of streaming a day. And I will be playing in a game with famed DM Amy Durza, or I can't pronounce her last name. I'm not going to try, but I'm sorry, Amy, if you do see this. But I will be playing at her table, and I'll probably do some sort of little dress up. I'm not exactly sure what that's going to be, but I will be in that event. And then on Tuesday, I will be running a game for Jasper's Game Day. Zach is going to be playing, and we're going to be playing the first adventure from our first Kickstarter, whenever that goes live, the Mother Load, here on the Jasper's Game Day stream.
Yep. So if you want their first taste of Ascension, the first feel of this world, you can find that next week or on May 5th.
Yes.
Today, actually, and I don't know that even Thomas knows this, but today I put the finishing touches on the first draft of that Motherlode trilogy. So right now we're sitting at like 12,000 words, and we still need to write like a little bit of setting info and introduction at the beginning, and then everything needs like 16 passes before it's even mildly okay. But
yeah. On top of that, I have decided to take donations here through the Drifters Atlas for Jasper's Game Day. So if anybody wants to donate, you can donate directly through Drifters Atlas, or they can get in touch with me, and I can get you in touch with the right. I am going to match, because it's so important to us. I am going to match the first. I'm going to match the first $200 donated through our channel.
Awesome.
So
sweet. And I think you mentioned that we're going to post some of these links in the chat before the end of the stream, so that people can check out Jasper's Game Day and stuff like that.
Yeah, it probably won't be in the stream. Oh, I can throw them in the stream, but I also, if you hop over to our Facebook after every session, I normally do just a recap of what David's working on and the things that, like, whoever our guest is. So, like, last week we talked about some links that David posted, and then some links that Catherine sent us. And I'll continue to do that every week with some of the things we talked about. That way people can find that, and that's our Facebook, which is the Drifters Atlas.
Yep, cool. Awesome. All right, I think that's our announcements. So do we want to go ahead and let's go ahead and dive into this.
Let me get my starting hat.
Yes. Ooh. All right. Now we know.
I'm balancing it.
Lovely. All right. So let's talk about. So we have scattered all over the place. If you missed our Saturday stream, which some folks did, and we actually had some new viewers on Saturday, which was awesome. But we named a whole bunch of places in our world, and I'm going to zoom in so everybody can see. But we named a whole host of locations. Our main city, which is that city that's going to have rivers coalescing through it and all sorts of trade going on, we named Filigree, or the Silver City. And I think that we're pretty proud of that. Errant Crossing is this stretch of land right here that connects the mainland to the crater. The Dwarven and Gnomish dig site, as they're burrowing through these mountains, is called the unequivocally Diamond dig site, because instead of saying, hey, we're going after chiclets, we are the gnomes are being a little bit political about it and implying that they are there for diamonds, and nothing more. Of course, not true. Then we named a whole bunch of the pirate cities and stuff. So this is where David caught us last, I think.
Yep.
So we know some names now, and these names were graciously offered to us in part by chat on Saturday. So we know that the Gnomish settlement, or the Gnomish city over here across the river, is known as Revel's Rest. And then the large pirate castle here, where the Water Genasi live, is called Stormtide Union. And that is their best attempt at a more pleasant sounding name. It works, and it keeps it on. So it's a win. There is the small town that we built. Oh, thanks, Eva Sparkles. We really liked Filigree as well. Solitude is the name of the small town over here, and the tower, the wizard's tower that we came up with or put in this town, is called Solace Tower. And then we named a whole bunch of the pirate strongholds. So this one on the coast is Humber Hole, and Wretch's Hold is the town that surrounds it. That's probably slang. That's not the real name of the town. Slab's Deceit, the Tusk, Galleon's Guard, and Schooner's Sanctuary. Again, graciously provided by our chat. And those were like the pirate lords attempting fancy names that didn't really stick. So instead, the rest of the world calls these places Black Sail and Scurvy Town, as kind of derogatory, obviously pirate names, instead of them getting anything that sounds in any way civilized. And the last
curious.
Yes.
I'm curious about the Tusk, because I wasn't here for the naming of that one.
Oh yes.
What is that in reference to? Is there something attached to that?
All right. Let me. Thomas, is it all right if I read that introduction that I let you and Catherine have?
Is there something named to that? Of course there's something named with. But yes, you're welcome to
Okay.
share.
Well, hang tight, guys, and I
Just
will.
a little spoiler from the
Mhm.
very first intro to our first adventure.
Yep. So the Tusk is your starting zone, so to speak, for the adventure that we're writing. And I know quite a bit about Tusk, but I will read you the description, which will help you know why it got its name. There we go. All right, here we go. So this is from Adventure 1, Chapter 1, Scene 1, and this would be the box text to start off the adventure. These docks are called the Black Barnacles. They cling to the gray shores of this hard land with a resolution that ebbs with the tides. Directly behind you lies the fortress called the Tusk, home of pirate lord Arkin III. It sits amidst the mountains like an abscessed tooth in a stone golem. The ship you are preparing to board is large and well worn, with splintered railing and frayed sails. It's the best thing you've seen all day. Standing just before you on the boarding plank is a dwarf that looks about as nervous as they come. He's just handed you a scrap of paper and told you to board within the hour. So, the Tusk is a decrepit, ugly fortress that sits amongst bland gray rock, and it was given its name based on somebody saying that it looked like a tooth or a tusk.
Nice.
Um, so the Tusk is one of the many pirate locations, but it's one of the main fortresses. And the Tusk and Slabs of Seat especially patrol the Jagged Strait, and we realized it was a pun after we named it, but now I'm tied to the name. Um, but the Jagged Strait is this channel here that opens up the large inland sea to the ocean beyond, and that used to be pretty easy, smooth sailing water. But when the incident happened that left this crater, it created all these mountains, and as the plates of the earth were grinded against each other, um, these mountains formed, and also some of the earth that makes up the ocean floor rose up as well. And so this is a very treacherous body of water now, made all the more treacherous by pirates who have taken it as their domain. So if you want to get out of this inland sea, you're going to have to um, arm your flotilla and prepare for at least sallies and a few engagements, if not a full-on attack. So anyhow, um, that's what we know so far. Those are the names that we came up with. Um, there's a couple names though that I'm really hoping that David can help us with tonight, and maybe these will be good channels for our discussion. Um, right now, we do not have a name for this continent as a whole, and additionally, we have called these shards of the divine, these things that people are after to gather to themselves to earn ascension. Um, right now, we're calling them chiclets. And if you look through my 12,000 word document, you will find a whole bunch of references to something called chiclets, which cannot be abided by any longer. So I think we need to have a really in-depth discussion about what we can call this thing that is like the number one commodity on the world.
But first, we need to figure out what the world is, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. I've got a tried and true method for doing this. It's very scientific. This is how I usually name continents and cities and various other things.
Love it.
So you take the alphabet and you roll a D26.
Really?
I do that by going online to Google and finding something that's 26 instead of just a D20.
You know what I have? I was clearing out my father's storage locker today, and I came across a game called Scategories. And in Scategories, they have this giant D20 with a lot of the normal letters on it. It takes off like I don't think there's a Z. There's no Z. But I took this out of Categories because Categories was missing a lot of pieces and pitched the rest of the game. But
so you didn't plan this, is what you're saying?
I did not. I had no clue you were going to ask this, but I got this yesterday, so it's perfect time.
Well, Thomas, roll the dice.
It starts off with an M.
M. Okay.
If this is just a string of continents, I reserve the right to say no.
Yeah, I think that we're just going to use a couple of these, right? We're not just going to do these all in order.
Are we doing this as the world itself, or are we doing it as just the continent?
Let's see what we get, and then we can pin that down. What we think it feels like, right?
A.
Okay, so we're going strong.
S.
Massachusetts.
The great fabled fantasy state of Massachusetts.
T. So we've started with mast.
All right.
J. W. O. E. N.
Okay, that's probably enough.
Yep.
So let me type
So
this
can
in.
Yeah, send it into the chat so we can see it.
JWOEN.
Doesn't really make much.
But we can make something out of it. I feel like we can.
Yes, and chat, if you can mix those letters around or use some of those letters, we'd love to hear your ideas too.
And I am sending the links for Japster's Game Day and right to the places where you can donate and everything else right now.
Perfect. All right. This is a live game of Scrabble.
Yep, which I'm terrible at.
Yes.
Mastion. Mastion's not a bad one.
Bastion. Let's see.
Mastwogen.
Ooh, I like that. Wojen.
Okay, now
WOJEN.
So what you're telling me is that we had a word that was made with the dice, and you're telling me to scrap the entire word and use the random consonants and.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just looking for inspiration.
Yeah. Wojen isn't bad. It's like a couple letters removed from Worgen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
The J is interesting. Like, if I'm thinking about a continent or a world, J is not a letter that I go to very quickly. So, for what it's worth, and I'm not opposed to Mastion. So that
Mastian or Mastian?
Mastien is what Tyler said.
Yeah, Mastian.
Mm-hmm. Mastwan, to me, feels like an alien word.
Well, the Pentagon. Excuse me.
It's probably the
Pentagon
hard consonant in the middle.
The hard consonant in the middle.
Yeah, maybe we take the T out and the ST out. Maybe if it's Mawin.
Yeah, I think Malwin is close. Mawon.
Or MAWOEN. Mawoen.
Mawoen.
Yes.
I I I think that's the best one so far. Mawoen. Mansow, Tyler says.
How do you know what they call me in high school? How did you know that?
That's hurtful.
It's all sorts of coincidences coming up in this stream.
Jumbling.
He's just jumbling letters. Yeah.
So are we.
So are we. Yep. This is important though, because if we all agree, then we know that we are unequivocally right, and no one will ever tell us we're wrong.
That's not true.
Well.
Just
I like MENT a lot for the end of it.
I just like Josta, Josta.
Stone Jaw.
He won. He won Scrabble. Good job.
Welcome to the world of Stone Jaw. Okay. Everyone here is super strong, super tough.
Oh my gosh, Stone Jaw does work.
Yes. Oh, okay, so here's what we'll do with Stonejaw. I think we can promise that can be a town somewhere in the Earth Genasi location or in a dwarven settlement, but we will definitely.
I will add that to the Legend Keeper into our name file, or like the Stonejaw Mountains or something.
What do you guys think about Josta?
Just Josta?
Josta.
I'm okay with that. I think that sounds good.
What do you think, Tyler, or Tom, or Tyler, or Eva, or anyone?
I like it. I think it's as good. I think it's as good as we're gonna get from those. I like Maoian or Mao. I think Josta is great. Or Josta or Jousta or any of those are great because they're easy to remember and they're quick, right? They punch off the.
Got to keep in mind though, Josta comes with a sort of Rastafarian feel.
Rastafarian. Now you're using words that not only can I not spell, but I don't know.
So you're coming to this place, yeah, man. You say I'm going to Josta.
Okay. All right. It's also a soft
Cola.
drink brand that was produced by PepsiCo.
Yeah.
First ever energy drink.
That is true.
Chasing the Panther was their slogan.
Really?
Yes.
That's
that
fantastic.
doesn't sound like drugs.
I'll like it.
Drink fix now.
Did you know that, or did you look that up online?
I looked it up online. I'm not gonna.
Okay. Okay. If you just knew that, I've heard of Josta Cola. I did not know that Chasing the Panther was their slogan.
Yeah, it was like Pepsi's version of Surge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have either of you, I'm sure you've been Rickrolled before, but have you checked out Rick Astley's "Walk Like a Panther" song music video?
I have not.
No.
After this, you guys need to check that out. It is a very baller music video and song. I love it, and that's what this Chase the Panther thing reminds me of. Is Rick Astley?
Yeah. Jostament. So here, let me tell you what's hanging me up there. Chat. Jawa. That's what's hanging me up with JOW, because I know my players, and if I named it my my world or my continent anything JOW or JAW, it's just gonna. Sure, you could say the J is silent, but my players are gonna say no. This is the world of Jawa now, and so will yours.
What if we take a combination of Mawin and have Ostwin?
Okay, now say that, because I liked how that came off the tongue. So how did you spell that?
Ostwin would be spelled Ostwen.
I like Ostwin.
And if we want to get fancy
Oh.
with it, we can put a J before the W and have it Ostwin, or Ostwin with a silent J.
OSTWJEN. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
All right, chat.
Yeah.
We're gonna put it to a vote. Either OSTWJEN or OSTWEN. You guys tell me which one you like, and we'll roll with it. No J from Tyler. We'll
I'm a no J.
You're a no J. Okay. Let's double check that Eva doesn't feel strongly. No J. Ooh, that's Lou. Welcome. Welcome to the chat.
Well, in lieu of that vote.
Okay. It's gonna be Ostwin. You got that for the legacy keeper, legend keeper. Perfect. Thank you.
The legacy keeper.
Legacy keeper. Listen, I like this program a lot, but they could not have picked a more bland fantasy name if they had tried. Cool. So Ostwin is the name. So do we like Ostwin for the continent or for the world?
I don't think we need to catch the world yet.
That's a fair feeling. Now, in your world, David, your world and the continent share a name to some extent.
They share a similar name. So my world, the one that I've put together is and Orianth is the globe. It's where everything exists. The main continent where all the adventures that I've done in the last 6 years take place is Oranthos, which is the common version of my world is the common way of saying little earth or tiny world. So Oranthos stands for tiny world and Oranth is world. It says something to self-importance for the culture that exists in the main continents that we play in, that they believe they're the center of the world.
Absolutely. Right. And that to me is always like a fascinating thing, because that's exactly what whenever that happens, where the world and the continent or the world and the kingdom have the same name or close to it, it's definitely like, well, it's just like how we got Mars or Venus or Neptune, right? Like it's the kingdom, the important kingdom of the time, saying that planet is ours and we are going to name it something that makes it so. Tyler just took care of all our other continents. So it's Ostwin, Hadawin, Mirwin, done.
Merowyn sounds familiar. I'm not sure by what, but
I don't know. That does have a familiar ring to it.
And then Eowyn, if we need another one. So we're good.
We've got years worth of writing to do if he thinks we're gonna come out with all those continents right away.
No kidding. Yeah, we got enough right here. So that's job well done. Ostwin is a great name. I'm super happy with. Now here's the Morrowind. Yep. What about Chiclets? Help us find a name that is not Chiclets.
I thought you said you were
like, you want something like really cool, like hardcore, like ice or something similar, like one very or like gloom or mud.
Yeah, I mean, listen. As much as you're making it overly dramatic, that's probably the direction that I was thinking. Like,
I think that yes, those are all great. I think it should have a that could be a common name for it, but I think we should have a serious name as well, right?
oh, there's like the Latin name, and then there's like the common folk name.
Let's start with the Latin name, because that's going to give us a good means to create the common name, the layman name, if we have the kind of scientific name for this to start with.
Yeah.
So give me a description of it. What do these, are they crystalline? Is that what this is?
I am describing them so far more as glass than crystal. If there's a difference. In my mind, the difference is that glass is thin and somewhat clear, and in shards, where crystal is more chunk, right?
Somebody just messaged me the word filament.
filament, I would say, is not a is in the right ballpark for a description of this thing, right?
He
Okay.
just met Tyler. Just messaged. He said Tyler sent me a personal message, and he's like, "I don't want to dominate chat." I said, "Dominate away."
Yeah.
I mean, if I wasn't a guest tonight, I would be dominating chat. So take my role.
Yes. And for
I
those of you
do
who are tuning
I
in, let
do
me.
like filament.
I like
Go ahead.
filaments.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I like filament too. Um, I'll just catch some people up that may have tuned into this one and missed some of our previous discussion on this. And hopefully I'll keep this really brief. But what we're discussing, the idea of chiclets, is that some uh, when the old gods fell, when they fell, part of their being or part of their essence crashed onto the world, onto the continent of Ostwin, and created the crater. And now people can go to that crater and they can mine a resource that is left by the gods, that right now we are calling chiclets. And if you harvest enough chiclets, you can use that chiclets to grant for yourself a way to ascend into deity. Thus, the name of the book is called, or the world is called, Ascension, because what it has created is a gold rush of sorts, where those that can gain by force or by skill enough chiclets and amass them together and use them can ascend and become a god, if but for a time, because there's only so many slots for gods in this world. So chiclets is an important thing, and it's kind of the number one currency of this world. So that's what we're discussing. I'm going to draw attention to Eva with her what's the best way of saying this? Her feification.
Celestime.
Yeah. Celestime feels
So
good.
I went a different route with this.
Mm-hmm.
So I took a few of the words that you were using to describe it, and I took filament because I like the word filament. I think that works well. Ran it through a couple of translators, mushed some of the translation together, and I got fibrum culosum, or
Okay.
fibrum culosum. And as a layman term, it could just be called fibers
Or fibrum.
or fibrum.
What is okay? So spell it out, and we're gonna put it into chat so they can see what they think of it.
FIBRAMCULOSUM.
Okay. I think we're like I love Philimeste and I love Fibrum culosum.
I hate both of those because I'm gonna have to write them a million times. I'm never gonna be able to spell either.
No. We're only gonna use this word like twice. This is the word though from which the slang comes, and the slang is the one that we're gonna write a million times.
Until they talk to the Lord, and the Lords that are trying to get this are going to be asking for fibrum colostrum.
Colostrum.
That makes me think of colostomy.
Not everybody will get that, but
I had to go in for my annual stuff, and they gave me fibromyalgia.
Okay, so oh man, okay, so here we can have our cake and eat it too. We can have both of these, because the one to me is more technical. It's more like I could see gnomes, or especially rock gnomes, dwarves, humans saying fibrum culosum, and that being their scientific term for it, right? I could see elves having like a higher word for this thing, right? And that could be the Philimiste if we wanted to.
I will say that Eva hits it straight at the nail on the head when she talks about filament and Celeste.
Yeah. Yes, it is celestial by nature. I love the word fibrum. if nothing else comes out of this, I feel
I
like
think it's
Vibram is the
Fibro.
right word for the slang. Like to
Done.
Vibram,
Done.
I don't know that I'm super on board with two U's just because. Uh, you guys tell me what you think.
I like the two U's, but I
Okay.
also have a couple places in my own world, like Verastul, which is spelled with two U's,
Mm.
because that changes it from fibrum to fibrum.
Hmm. So let me do some typing here. So this is so what I feel like I'm doing is writing Gandalf's, in the part of the Lord of the Rings where they're like, these are all Gandalf's 16 names in different languages. This is what I feel like we're doing right now, which is a part that everybody loves in those stories. So
I mean, Stephen Colbert liked it.
yes, exactly, and he's everyone. So and
He's a better representation than most. So
yes, and then like slang fibro. So this is just a suggestion. It's not the set in stone. Um, but here's an idea, right? You could do Elven Philemiste. Common would, or like the scientific term would be Fibrium callosum. Dwarven could be the Fibrum, and then the slang is just Fibrum.
yes, but are we shooting ourselves in the foot with our players?
Yeah, because you do need consistency with players. If you're calling something by five different names, it's going to confuse people.
Right. Right.
Because the whole goal of this project is to make a world for them to make their players.
Yes. I completely agree there, and again, I think that the slang is the one. Whatever I write, and different authors might have a different feeling, but whatever I write, Fibrum is going to be my word, go-to word. But when a dwarf NPC grabs hold of a shard and holds it up to the light and exclaims, his excitement at finding this thing. I love the idea that he has a more dwarven name for it in that moment. Um,
Especially the fact of it if it's the difference between somebody calling it fibrum with two U's and fibrum with one, I think that is super easy to get away with.
yeah, yeah, and you can couch it, and honestly, I don't think that, like, probably the only time that you would see any of these words used guaranteed is when you're talking about how this race interacts with this uh, this relic, this artifact. It's not something that's common. That being said, so Chad is asking who discovered it, the elves or the dwarves. Um, so you guys, we all get to decide this together to some extent. My thought, but I haven't given it much thought, was that this is not an event that happened 10,000 years ago, and that most races were around when it impacted, and that within the same 10-year span of time, they were all investigating this crater and discovering this thing.
Agreed. I think our our next book will go into that a little bit too, without giving too much away.
Yeah.
A
That being
little bit
said,
more.
it's unfair to. I mean, if we all name them, yeah. If all the names sound nearly the same, then that means that to some extent somebody found it first, and the names were based off of that discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, the dwarves and the elves would have completely different names for this sucker if they found it separately.
I found it first, and therefore I call it Sprinkle Teeth.
Yes, exactly. And
Sparkle teeth is what you could call it for sure if it's a piece of glass.
oh man, so here I'm gonna I'm
That's
gonna
what dragons call it.
I'm gonna drop a little bit more lore on you guys because we're talking about this stuff and I love it. But you talk about sparkle teeth, and I do think that there is something very much drug-like that can be made from this stuff. And Thomas, you have not said boo about whether or not you like this addition to this world yet, but it's in the adventure. Um, but I wrote about a creature called a gizrat, which is like
Yes.
a rat that has been mutated by a rat species that has been mutated by this impact crater.
By the fibrum.
Mm-hmm. And it has not true fibrum, but like a gross biological translation of fibrum that grows from its back, kind of like spines. And the gross people of this world will find creatures like these rats that have these biological fibrum elements, and they will grind it up and drink it and get a high off of it. Um, and it messes with their teeth. So, sparkle teeth.
So it's meth.
It's very much similar to meth, yeah. Which is funny because I wrote the characters as having no teeth, and then circled around to, well, why don't they have teeth? And it ended up being, well, because they're grinding up rat stuff and it's gross.
Well, here's something that I was just thinking of, that if you want to talk about stuff with teeth and whatnot, how about one of the pirate lords is known as Glasstooth because he has a piece of this fibrum to replace a tusk or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's a half orc or something, the half orc lost a tooth in combat and just grabbed a raw piece of fibrum, shaped it into a new tusk, and jabbed
Yep.
it in. It's a prosthetic, and he's just a pirate lord known as Glasstooth.
That's delightful.
God,
That's
I don't like you, David. You're taking my job. I will go to chat now and start typing in anything that I have to say.
well, here Tyler's
That's
taking your job, and
fantastic.
Tyler and Eva are taking your job in chat too, because Tyler says that there is a drug called Sparkle Teeth. Do you mean there's a drug in the real world called Sparkle Teeth? Because if so, man, we're on top of things. Or is that why David said that word? Maybe we're learning a thing.
No, I just said sparkle teeth because I thought it was fun to say. It's like saying unicorn sprinkles or something like that.
Yes.
I do not see anything on Google that pops up with sparkle teeth.
Okay.
Do you have your safe search turned on?
Yeah,
that's probably true. I probably do.
Sparkle Teeth drug.
I do not, so we're good.
I'm not going to Google this, so it will not be in my search history.
Yeah.
Tyler says, nah, someone just said sparkle teeth, so I think it's canon.
Okay. There we go. We can definitely call, like, I hadn't thought of what the name of that was yet, so it might be Sparkle Teeth.
Oh, no, yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so it's crystals that are derived by mutations on animals that are ground into dust that can be consumed orally, leaving a residue on the teeth that causes it to glisten, almost like Vaseline and glitter. And you can tell somebody that's on the drug because initially their teeth sparkle, but those bits of sparkle stay on the teeth and burrow holes, which cause the issues that eventually rot the teeth out.
Yep, perfect, done. Like we'll just transcribe the audio from that and put it in the book. And
I'm not even writing it. I'm just gonna listen back to this at. What are we at? We're at like an hour into the stream. I'll just at midnight tonight. I'll go back to this and I'll just type that in.
Yeah.
What if it does something weird? Like it has some sort of weird like a mineral replacement for ossification. So instead of dropping teeth out, it slowly changes teeth into like jagged glass-like things that you're addicted to it enough that you're willing to have glass for teeth.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
kind of cool. That's
it's an
kind of cool.
affliction.
I'm not gonna lie.
Instead of making holes, it just adds to it. It just calcifies on top.
No, it straight out replaces minerals. Like it replaces your teeth with the harder substance in these crystals, and eventually your teeth change into they're replaced with glass. It adheres somehow to the nerves there. it may even be like some sort of a weird mutation in and of itself. So you can tell when somebody's so far gone on the drug that they're not even the same person anymore
Mm-hmm.
because they'll flat out attack you like a zombie.
Yeah. Yep. Sure. I'm trying to see. Yeah, because all I called it, the only way I mentioned it was saying it was a glass elixir. So the thing that I always like when I write something like this is I want it to have a benefit, right?
Sparkle Tusk.
I want it to have a reason for being addictive, right?
I don't think Sparkle Tusk is that scary, Tyler.
Sparkle Tusk.
You
Sparkle
haven't been
Tusk
to the
is
same
my-
parties that we've been to.
Just.
We will never rent that clown ever again.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna just leave. And Eva is saying wild magic surges when you have when you're so far gone. And
Are we?
wild magic. You
Are we?
guys don't know much about my characters, but wild magic surges are one of my favorite things in fifth edition.
Yes. So hang on though, because we this is a lovely thing. Is this a sorcerer subclass?
Glass
We need
Tooth is a sorcerer subclass.
like what a wonderful subclass to where you are a strung out addict that has weird magical abilities based off of.
Is it a subclass or is it a race? Have you transcended the race that you are currently in once you've gone too far in this?
Is it like an over template on a race, right? Like can any race because right, like at some point,
Can any race become a Sparkle Tooth?
yeah, we are
All we got was a dude.
yeah. We are down deep in this, but this is a there's going to be a whole adventure that comes out of this. I promise you.
Yeah, I don't think it's an overlay. I think it's a pure like it starts with the ossification kind of mineral replacement with the teeth, but eventually it digs into you and you lose yourself to it. Only the strongest manage to keep some sort of sentience to it. Those that do become a completely different race. And the magic that is imbued from the drug that's kind of now in the bloodstream that is the creature gives you your racial abilities, and that's what makes you this new race. Like the exterior may have semblances of the previous race that you were, but you no longer gain those benefits. You're the new race now. So like you could say like one of the things like false appearance, where you can still kind of fit in with society that involves like if you're a human, you can still fit into human society as long as you don't like smile or show some of the other racial traits that are a part of it.
So let's see. So the things that come to mind with that, right? There's two things that this reminds me of, which in a good way. One, like a classical example is the Morlocks, right, from the Time Machine, right? Like this is a faster progression, but it's something that you have, in a sense, devolved into a whole nother species. And some might even call it an evolution instead of a devolution. Um, and then the other thing that this reminds me of with your description there is the Nosferatu vampire, right? Which is one who looks hideous but can, through innate abilities, maintain a composure that allows it to fit in.
Yeah. Yes, but it has to be like the strongest ability. So you have basically like zombies that we can call like glassjaw or something like that, that they're just there to bite you.
Stop,
And
stop, 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 stop. You just said offhand, maybe we call them glassjaw. Table that, because that's exactly what I would have called. Like, it would have taken me like 2 weeks to get there, but that's exactly what I would call zombies that are tied to this. So I need to make sure that I write that down.
I'm
Okay.
putting it down.
Okay, perfect. Go for
okay,
it.
so the zombies or the glassjaws are basically they have the one character trait that is a part of the race, and I think this is the cool part where we can work in some of the like randomized magic. Maybe it's a D4 instead of a full chart of random magic. So it's a bite attack that you gain because you have glass teeth, and when you do a bite attack, you have to roll, and there's a percentage chance that a wild surge magic is drawn from the glass teeth because it obviously is part of a magical elixir. Now, once the percentage chance is hit, and it needs to be a little bit higher than random magic surge on the tables and whatnot because it's a racial ability. Once that lands, you have to roll like a D4 or D6, and one of those few things happen. So, like you bite, you do 1d6 bite or piercing damage plus strength, whatever that is, like 1d6 plus 2, and then you roll your percentage. It's the right percentage to go off, and then you roll a d4, and the added effect is like whatever the added effect is.
Well, you have a table, right? Like, so that's the job of the table, is to help inform that. So are you the somebody on a recent podcast that we did talked about Dale Kingsmill?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
me.
Okay, good. So I think you and I are both on the right. Are- She just this year she put out a video on reapproaching the wild magic sorcerer, right?
Yeah, I watched that. I gotta watch it again.
That's like months old at this point. But one of the things that she said, right, is that wild magic shouldn't be fun. It should be terrifying.
That would
And
make it even more fun.
oh well, yeah. I mean that's fair, right? but like
If we go back to older version, either on the podcast or here, I can't remember, but I played a Wild Magic Sorcerer at Winter Fantasy, and my entire goal was to Wild Magic Surge, good,
yeah.
bad, or indifferent.
Mm-hmm.
So I let my DM let me Wild Magic Surge on a 1 through 2, instead, so it gave it a 10% chance rather than a 20% chance.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I'm sold on a race, and so this is what's interesting about the race is somebody said on here. Tyler mentioned, yes, I think that this race is native to, like, native to the crater, but that it can manifest in people that are outside the crater who are eating rats or whatever, right? Like, it's a race that can grow in multiple different ways at this point. I think that's cool. So there could be like in lower like the sales pitch or the flavor text for this race would be like in lower income like slum areas or in areas where there's a heavy amount of addicts. Slowly the entire populace or large portions of the populace will become this race.
Do you know what a great way to check to bring your players into this is for them to run into an NPC that forces them to check their mouth.
Oh man, yeah. Show us your teeth. Show us your teeth.
Show us your teeth. I can't trust you. Show us your teeth.
Okay, so here's a cool idea. What if there's a difference between the race and the monster, so that the Glassjaw zombies have a stronger, like the D4 table, randomized table, has a stronger effect than the race does, but the race gets to maintain its sentience. So in this case, like what I'm thinking is you roll a 1 on a D4 as the race. When you use your bite attack, the person you bite has to make a DC 15 Constitution save, or their joints stiffen up for a round. Like they get lockjaw or lock joint or something like that. But the zombies, the Glassjaw zombies, if they do that and they roll the same one, instead you have to save against petrification.
Mm-hmm. Like it's a stronger because they were at ground zero, so to speak, and they're kind of like, so here's the thing, right? Are they zombies? Like I kind of feel like they're a humanoid that lacks higher forms of intelligence, but they're not dead. They're not undead.
Well, yeah, they wouldn't be an undead
They'd be a monstrosity,
representation.
right?
They'd be, what was that?
They'd be a monstrosity, right? Like if
Yeah,
you were to
they would be classified as a monstrosity, or at
or a
a
human,
very vague sense, like an aberration, humanoid aberration.
yeah.
But I think monstrosity would be the correct, classification for them.
I can't like as much. I am so delighted by this train of thought because what it opens this up for is to have a very delicious like horror adventure one-off that could be a lot of fun to play and make sense in the world. Not that that's the adventure that we're writing uh, for the first one or for the second one, but I would have a lot of fun. Show us your teeth. That's actually going to be in this adventure. I'm going to do that because I think
Yeah.
that's one of the prerequisites for being a canary for working in the mines is you can't be an addict. Um, because they can't have you. It's not the same product, but they can't have that being your focal goal is to get more of this biological
product.
fibrum, um, biofibrum.
Biofibrum.
Yeah,
Biofibrum. That's cool.
yeah.
Oh, so if this is a thing, if it's such a deadly thing that it's changing people, maybe there's a couple of lost settlements near the crater that people actively avoid. They're off the old main road,
Like
but
leper
it's
colonies.
yeah, like leper colonies, but for monstrosities that have glass teeth.
Like a willing leper colony.
Yeah, and like it could have some kind of fancy like flourishy name, so it sounds super friendly to go there, but the name is just in complete contrast to what you'd find.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
All right, I'm sold on all this. This is all canon now. Um, I knew bringing up Gizrats was going to lead to a fun hole.
How do you spell Gizrats, by the way?
GIZ rats, all one word.
Don't steal our monsters.
I'm not
No,
going to steal your monsters. I will warn against dirty-minded players because Gizrat comes really close to
I know,
Something
nastiness.
else.
I know. But listen, so I'll tell you where I came up with it. There was these. Um, what I wanted was a creature that was like. Do you guys remember? I'm sure at least one of you who played the Knights of the Old Republic Star Wars game.
Mhm.
Um,
I did.
the Mass Effect clone. Um, in that there was an adventure or a quest where your ship gets flooded with Gizka, Gizka, which are these little creatures that are just annoying little pests. You have to like purge your ship of them, and they don't do anything. They just multiply on your ship. Um,
So you
anyhow,
got invaded by rabbits.
yeah, kind of. That's kind of their yeah, and it was frustrating and stupid because they don't give you any. The only way that you can figure out what they are, like you can kill them, but then they just come back up next time you go to the ship, and the only way to get rid of them is to go to vendors and find Gizka poison and buy Gizka poison and put it on the ship, and that gets rid of them. But I'm like, well, what I want is a fantasy version of that that's tied to chiclets, and so Gizrats. But you're absolutely
Tyler's. Oh, go ahead.
go. No, that's fine. I'm done.
Oh, Tyler says, I know we like sparkle teeth and fiber, but what if chiclets are filestime or filament and the drug is fibrum or fibers? I like fibrum being referred to as I like something that is easy for the chiclets as well.
Hmm. I'll have to think on that. Um. Yeah, I definitely don't want to only have philestime and filament as our only words for the good stuff. Um, because then we have to spell it every time, and the players will not say it. Um, and also, so the other thing that this is maybe just me being me, but we use filament a whole lot in everyday language now with 3D printers, um, and so it feels like a very modern word. So
Could
I
break immersion.
it could break immersion, right? It's just like you don't say cash in D&D for money, right? It's too modern of a word. I think it works as a technical term embedded in the lore, or the scientific journals of this world, but I don't think that it fits for a fits for the thing. Um, but I mean, we accomplished some major stuff tonight already. So I'm pleased if we don't get too much further. Is there any offshoots of this or anything different that chat wants to talk about, or that David you want to talk about, um, that can that we can dive into for just a little bit?
I want to take us to a different corner of the world, but I would like to see if chat has something first.
Lovely.
Take us away. We got about 20 minutes.
Yep.
So there's a frozen glacier that has a primordial chained underneath it, I believe.
Yeah.
I want to know more about that.
Let's talk about that. That sounds great, because Tom and I were just talking about needing to know a little bit more about the rest of the world. So
yeah, we have nothing about other than what we talked about that one day on, like, I think the first stream. And right now, all we have is that this is probably the northern pole of this continent, and the island that is a stationary island. Why isn't it floating away? Maybe there's a massive arcane chain that connects to an imprisoned primordial.
So let's start there. Why was it chained? How was it chained? What put it under there? Is it in punishment? Is it dead? Do they call it the drowned god? Do people even know it's there? Do they question what the arcane chain is for? Is it too deep for them to actually find out what's down below?
So, to me, and I'll throw this out there, and you guys, as a starting point of discussion, to me, when we talk about a chain primordial, I immediately think about the old gods, and I also think this is an awesome warlock patron.
Oh yeah,
right? The chained primordial, ice primordial, or whatever is like, mwah, I want to play that warlock already. But to me, lore canon wise, it's if the gods did this, it was the old gods. But they don't have to do it. Maybe it was a powerful force on Earth, or maybe the primordial is doing it for its own reasons, or
maybe it's not a primordial.
Okay, so we'll switch it on its head. What do you mean? And maybe it's not a primordial.
Maybe it's the offshoot of a god and. Okay, I'm going to throw out some ideas here. It's the offshoot of a god and a humanoid creature. It's the offshoot of a god and an abomination, or whatever.
aberration.
Or aberration. Or it's the offshoot of a god and a force of nature, like a god and the very essence of magic. Maybe the weave infected a god and impregnated a god with magic, and this force was just birthed from it. Something like Typhon from Gaia being created in Greek mythology.
And Tyler added in, perhaps since the old gods are gone now, the chain is weak. If it is chained.
I think the chain thing sounds good, because if it's the chain, like, we could have the chained one or the drowned child. And the drowned child is what made me think about this. Like, if you have an offshoot of an old god and the very essence of nature, maybe this is some sort of missing link between the new gods and the old gods, and it was seen as such an abomination that it was drowned and chained in place as a combined effort between primordials and the new gods. It's one of the few instances of both factions working together, because it could potentially hold power stronger than both.
Ooh, okay. So what if? So I'm thinking about back to the old gods. I'm thinking, what if? And you said the child. What if this was supposed to be the new deity, right? Like the starting of, or the culmination of the old gods, and it was supposed to be the one that ate from the fibrum and ascended itself into deity, but instead it was it was chained to this glacier as a way of removing the old god's influence from the world, um, and that's what allowed this these new gods to gain power, was basically eating the meal that was meant for the child.
That could be fun. I also like Tyler's thing in the chat here, possibly be one of the world destroyers. Like, what if this is what if the drowned one is basically the Ragnarok of this world? Like, the chain breaks, it awakens, the world ends, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. 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 I think the reason that we see that in so many stories is that it's cool, right? Like it's actually it's still a really fun thing to play with. Like the idea that there's this creature that, if it ever broke loose, would uh, shatter the world as we know it.
Maybe that's just lore though. Going off what you said and mixing that in. Okay, so maybe the primordial is a cyclic revolution where it gets old, it puts off an offshoot, and then it dies and it shatters. The offshoot then consumes the parent, gaining the parent's power, becoming the new god. But in this case, the offshoot was created and it was bound by the people of this world, who the old people of this world knew kind of what the lore was for it. Then the new god died and shattered, and now everybody, because the child is bound down and to these arcane chains, the people are now consuming the fibrum and becoming the new gods.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unstable for them. That's why they have to keep ascending and descending and reascending, because it's meant for this other creature.
Yeah, I like who.
It's a
But
lot
the
to unpack.
Yeah.
part of the issue is every time that the creature consumes the parent, it starts a new cycle. And part of what they're doing is prolonging this cycle of existence by keeping this creature chained under the ocean and trying to raise themselves up to become these new gods.
Tyler or Thomas, that's part 3, right?
Yes,
Book 3, right?
to a point.
To a
Yeah.
like that's the that's the reveal, or that's the premise of book 3, is cleaning cleaning the cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And letting it ascend.
or maybe it's just because you have two options, right? You can either let it consume the thing and ascend, and now you're putting the old god back into power, and you're starting the cycle all over again, or you can let what's happening currently continue to happen, and that's kind of just the new way of things, or you can get rid of all the chiclet influence or the fibrum influence, and now there's no possible way for anyone to become a god, and the
And
world
then
is as it is.
the only thing to worship past that is entropy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That'd be a unique kind of fantasy setting where you destroyed the gods, now there are no gods.
There's no way to get there. It's just is what it is.
Well, that's basically the start of Dragonlance.
Hmm. I don't like.
Yeah.
I'm not read up on Dragonlance lore enough to feel
Well,
good.
and I'm not. I'm just started. But Dragonlance starts off at that basically people stopped believing in the god, and the gods abandoned the world. So there is no like healing magic.
Mm-hmm.
There is no like clerical magic.
Mm-hmm. And that's Dark Sun to a point, right, where there's not a lot of divine. There's no divine stuff. And there's also so in Eberron, right? So Eberron's another example of this because in Eberron lore, and I'm gonna butcher some of this, so bear with me. But the aberrations and the fiends, or the aberrations tried to break through onto the material plane, these godlike creatures, and a group of druids called the Gatekeepers sealed them away. Um, and those are kind of passed into lore now, but they're still sects of druids who keep the watchfires burning and consider themselves gatekeepers, to keep godlike beings from being able to have control of the world again. So Eva Sparkles. So one of the things that is a good question. What happens in the afterlife in this world? The good news is that right now there are deities. The deities are those who have ascended since the old gods fell. So we don't have to worry about entropy being the thing that's worshipped at the moment. That being said, um, um, we need to uncover what potentially we need to uncover what these where these souls go, or if there's a different relation between soul and deity now that deities are just your ancestors potentially, or someone else's ancestors.
To go back a little bit, I like the idea, at least in the way it works in our story. I like the idea of this sort of being a child's fable. So at least at first, this elemental or old god or whatever it may be that's chained under here is something that wives' tales talk about, and people don't really believe it, and maybe it's something our characters find.
Yeah, it's definitely not something that's commonly held as being true. I don't like this is the sort of thing that even in a fantasy setting becomes too fantastical for the common folk to lay claim to.
And
Yeah.
if it is old gods, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
So we've got about 10 minutes left here. So what I'd like to turn our attention to, just so I kind of have 2 points of contact for this glacier. So we know a little bit now about the thing chained beneath, but who lives on this who lives in this tundra right now? Like,
There's a single ice fisher named Bob.
yeah, exactly. One guy.
Just who fishes on that lake.
Yes.
Now this is a small thing off the side of this continent, right? It's not actually the continent itself.
I don't like. I think maybe it has an effect on the continent, but I don't think it is the continent itself.
I think we were thinking that maybe we put an island northwest of up in the corner, yeah, where Zach sort of has his arrow there.
I don't hate the idea of a guardian character, like just a single solitary character. Like maybe the chains can be seen strung to the iceberg, and people on the mainland have tales of what that means, what the chains could potentially be. But those that try to make their way out to the iceberg often find themselves lost at sea or turned back around, headed toward the mainland without knowing how or why. And it's because there's a guardian out there, like an eternal guardian or some sort of mystical creature that protects the chained one, that is specifically there to try to break the cycle.
It's a pretty good place to put an ice Revis.
Yes.
Or a skate rink.
Or let's see. Like I mean, I'd love so anytime you talk about protectors of the deep, I think how cool would it be, especially up here, to do something that's like an Arctic kraken or an Arctic leviathan, right? Like, to me, that could be a lot of fun.
An Arctic aboleth.
Yeah,
That's why people keep getting turned around, is the aboleth
yeah,
has mind-altering abilities.
that would be fun. Like, and this is our like. There's so many. There's at least I say so many. There's at least several really great films that take like this alien or Cthulhu mythos creature and put it in tundra, snow, ice, and that's always a good fit. Tyler is saying, so he's saying that there could be an aboleth in the large lake that knows the whole story of the Chained One, and encourages or tempts players to try to kill it. So there might be someone who is actively working to undo the chains, which is also a cool
Or
thought.
or it's the same aboleth, and part of the deal is there needs to be sacrifice to the old god to keep it sleeping, to keep it kind of sated, to convince it that it's being fed, and
Hmm.
it tries to tease the strong to go out there, and then they end up dead, and it's all a ploy.
Mm, that's interesting.
The problem is that if the strong are strong enough to go out there, if you're building a campaign and the strong are strong enough to go out there because the aboleth has convinced you that this is bad, do you want this god killed? Because you only have two options at that point: either kill it or be killed.
So like the secret in-game boss for a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, or like this is I feel like the alternate ending DLC, right? Another way of looking at it is like you can do it the way that we're going to write. You can play through the story as written, or there's another adventure or whatnot where you can enlist the assistance of this primordial being um, in your quest to dethrone old god or dethrone new gods or bring yourself to ascension or whatever.
Waking the drowned one.
You could try to in the folly of man, you could try to tame or control this drowned being and basically force it to assist you in your own rise.
Yeah, that
I
would
know
be.
we I know
That's
we talked about this previously, that there was a potentiality of ascendance beyond the new gods to a singular god. Maybe that could be an end goal, is somehow you need to awaken the drowned one so that you can also absorb it.
that could be cool.
That's something.
So you have to tiptoe around the end of the world in order to achieve the impossible.
hmm. I like all these ideas.
Yeah,
How do,
I haven't written any of them down. I'm gonna re-listen to this tonight or tomorrow and rewrite all these out, so I'm not just taking half-hearted notes.
You'll take full-hearted notes.
yes,
All the notes will be filled with heart emojis.
yes.
All the I's dot.
There is the only thing I was thinking about while we were talking about all this was I I'd like to populate this glacier with a race, or this tundra with a race, and to me I would love to put minotaurs up here because I think that would be a really fun Arctic race. Is
Penguins,
is penguin folk.
penguin folk.
I,
They got
I
they
love
got the slap flaps.
Yes.
one of my
Slap flap
favorite
slap.
descriptions of any kind of Arctic tundra is the R.A. Salvatore barbarians on the tundra. Has anyone else read the Drizzt books?
I have, but I don't remember the description.
So, um, not Bruder. Wolfgar comes from the tundra north of Ten Towns in Faerûn,
Hmm.
and Wolfgar is a barbarian of the tribe of the Elk. And the way they describe those sort of the migration patterns of those barbarians is something that sticks out of my head forever, basically. And so, if you had sort of like a Minotaur barbarian tribe or other tribes that also worked with barbarians, would be kind of.
Snow elves.
Oh gosh, I do Tyler. Do we really? I mean, I'm not an elf hater, but do we really need another type of elf?
We have sea elves.
So is the pitch for snow elves imagine elves but whiter? Like,
We need to get back to that point. Well, I think on one of the first streams, I said all we have to do is just not get
yes,
fired. And so we are walking a dangerous line here
yeah.
with the whitest elves.
You know,
Oh no, we got to do it, and then they have to start a TV show called The Whitest Elf.
yeah. So let me. This is too perfect to not bring up. On a previous podcast of mine, which you can still go and listen to, there's an episode where we talked about Drow, and my co-host at the time made the brilliant point that elves or Drow are just elven polar bears because they have black skin and white hair.
Yep. You're not wrong.
Hmm.
And we had, for a while, some art in development that never saw the light of day that was going to be stickers and a t-shirt that said basically that. Um, because I'm like, that is a clever way of looking at it, and I like it a lot. So
They Tyler sent me I guess the elf snow race of Snow Elf has some cool things. I don't know anything about snow elves, but he just sent me like the stat block, and they're kind of cool.
they're from Skyrim, right? Or at least in part. I feel like
I
I heard
I
or
have
read
no
them in
clue.
Skyrim, but Elder Scrolls in general.
I have never rimmed a sky.
Gotcha.
I think there are. I think there are. I don't think they're called snow elves, but they're basically like hardier elves that live in the Skyrim-esque region.
Gotcha.
That, and I'm probably wrong on my Elder Scrolls, but I think they're the ones that delved into the Underdark and were not the Underdark, but the underside of the continent and were warped into the Falmer.
Hmm. Interesting.
Tyler says yes, Skyrim.
Perfect. Awesome. Guys, it is 10:37, which I feel like is a pretty good spot to
Mm-hmm.
wrap this up. I'm gonna. I think we should do a couple of announcements and a couple of things that I neglected to say at the beginning of the stream, and we should shut this puppy down. The main thing that I want to do is give David a couple minutes to hype whatever he wants to hype. So, David, what do you want to hype?
You gotta put me on the spot like that. Well, first
Mhm.
off, I would like to hype my Ascension with the help of the Drowned One, and I will be a god. I'll be coming soon. It'll be pretty awesome because I'm awesome. Secondly, um, Kickstarter for the Knights of the Shadow Realm went really well. So well, in fact, that we've had some suggestions to bring in the character PDF as a printed bit of material. Kind of touched on this in the last week's episode. It's not officially announced, but it will be coming soon that we will be doing another Kickstarter at the end of next month that won't run as long, but it will be for the player friendly PDF for Knights of the Shadow Realm. We are, for those of you who have missed the Knights of the Shadow Realm Kickstarter, I've had a lot of people reach out to me asking how they can get the book now that Kickstarter's over. We are looking at adding that in as an add-on specifically for that, for the latecomers to the Knights of the Shadow Realm stuff. So if you did miss the previous Kickstarter, look forward to that being a part of it. And yes, I will still have the hat after Ascension. It's part of my godly wear. Um, but definitely look for those of you that missed. Definitely look for the book as an add-on for that. The player-friendly stuff will contain all of the player options that are in Knights of the Shadowfell or Knights of the Shadow Realm, um, with none of the spoilers of the stories.
Yep.
So
Nice.
I think that's all I really want to hype for right now.
Perfect. Perfect. I will go ahead and give you a little extra hype and say that if you missed the Kickstarter, but you are curious as to David's world or how David writes, you can check out some of his stuff on the DM's Guild. Especially, there's a really good adventure called Lights Out at the Night Watch Lighthouse that I had a lot of fun running. Um, and that I think is premium material for starting a party of adventurers. And that brings me to the second thing that I want to hype is that I was able to help a group of individuals, group of Bald Man DMs, Troy Sandlin, John Christian, create an Eberron product that is out on the DMs Guild as of today. It's called Salvation Expanded. If you play the Oracle of War storyline, or if you just have a group that's playing in Eberron and you want to flesh out a small town on the edge of the Mournlands, this book is a really good resource to help you do that. Chock full of NPCs and different ways of translating salvage to gold and bartering tables and all sorts of great things. Um, so I would definitely hype you checking that out. We're going to be releasing a couple other things, and then DM's Guild in general, kind of a cool announcement. There are rumors and rumblings that I believe we have confirmed now that 100% of all purchases uh, procured next week, 100% of all earnings will go towards the authors.
Nice.
The DM's Guild is not taking their 50% cut next week. So if you have your wish list in a cart somewhere and you're like, hey, I'd like to get this chunk of stuff, all those authors would thank you kindly for grabbing stuff next week and helping them earn a little bit of extra coin with no extra expense to yourself. So,
And can I just say, the Lighthouse one, only $2.49. That's
Two-
all.
$2.49, and it is one of the easiest modules you'll ever run. As far as like, I picked it up and ran it, and I think we finished it in about 3.5 hours, and perfect. It's that good.
It's also not said enough, to be completely honest, that if you do buy anything from the DM's Guild and you enjoy it, leave a review. The best way you can support people who are making products on the DM's Guild is reviewing the product.
Yeah, it's one of those things where there's 1,000 products, not really, but it feels like 1,000 products being put on the DM's Guild every single day. And so when people go on to buy, they have to sift through a lot of things. And one of the big ways that they sift through is this product reviewed? What are other people saying about it? So just one or two reviews on whatever product you like, they're going to make that product be more enticing to a whole host of individuals. So, yep. Don't forget to check out Jasper's Game Day. Links are in the chat, and Thomas will be posting them later. And we will see you all on Saturday.
Before we get off here, are we doing a social media thing?
Yes. Where can we find you on social media, David?
All right. So those of you that are interested in actually having a conversation with me, I check Twitter quicker than I do most other things. So you can find me at David Barrentine. That's Barrentine. I have a weird last name. I know it's not my fault. I was born with it. But definitely, if you want to reach out, do some world building of your own, run some ideas past me, or just make fun of my hat on there, hit me up. I'm down.
Sweet. I will be linking that as well in with the Jasper Game Day. I do a little recap every week, so we will put that David's information out there. The only other thing is if you enjoyed it tonight, hit the follow up on the top of the screen, or follow us on Facebook or Instagram, and know when we're bringing out new products and new streams.
Perfect. All right, guys. We'll see you later.